Welcome back, everybody. Spin. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment of the weekly update. Ordinarily, I'm not one to celebrate the passing of time, but hey, ladies and gentlemen, I've made it another year. The 10th of November, it's my birthday. Also the anniversary of the United States Marine Corps. So you go, Devil Dogs. I had a couple nice days not looking at or thinking about the Red Cat Ascent, but we're gonna shatter that, in honor of the anniversary of my birth, which is still a weird thing to celebrate. I still think I am not one. If you've had a birthday and I knew about it and I didn't congratulate you for it, that's really on brand for me, because I consider just reminding people about their own mortality. If you want to wish me a happy birthday in the comments, that's absolutely fine. I won't be offended, but generally I feel I feel weird saying happy birthday to people, because I'm like, hey, another day older and closer to death. Go you! So I don't know. Birthdays are weird. Kind of like how Christmas as an adult. I don't know about any of you, but Christmas as an adult is kind of weird. Like, right? We can go out and buy anything we want. So asking somebody for stuff as an adult feels really weird. On a level. Doesn't mean I don't ask for stuff, but, here we are. So we're going to work in a rambling sort of fashion as we do. We'll start with Zobazu, who's got an installment coming up. It's not filmed yet. It'll be up soonish. There is the servo, which I had already taken out when I read the comment that another comment that points out that a lot of times I'm too close to the problem, because this servo is way too fast. Like, what is it, 0.08 when it's running on 3S Direct? And someone was like, you have an RC4. You can just turn the steering speed down, steering speed and return. And yes, I absolutely can. But did I think of that at the time when I removed it? What, are you kidding me? Because it ties in. I found that 1200. Remember when I said I couldn't find the 1200 to put in the Ascent? Yeah, it was in there. I built this guy in the interim. So I said, if we need that 1200, we're not going to punish Zobazu for it. What we are going to do instead is, oh yeah, he hasn't been on video since he was painted, has he? Okay. Joanna Gaines again, True White. Fabulous, fantastico. There's a very subtle patina on the roof there. This is a combination of part green and metallic green. I had a little tiny bit left in each can, and it was just enough. This is the blackboard here. So it's painted inside and out. I think it came out amazing. At first, when I saw these lights, I was like, you installed those wrong. You're an idiot. But no, when you get up like this, it looks really cool, because they're basically rock lights. It's old-timey rock lights. If it didn't mean wires everywhere, I would love to put lights in this. The more I look at the Zool body, the more I like it. I think it captures kind of the spirit of the FJ45, perhaps more than any other, at least till here. Like the bed would be the same way. Anyway. Good looking body. I love the KC lights. I love everything about it. The fitment is great. It only had a couple thin portions on it. This is the Joanne Crafts matte clear coat, which sprayed well and is a nice durable finish. But come on, is this matte to anyone? It might be a little shinier than satin. It might be a little close to semi-gloss, and it's pretty tough. So when I tried to scuff it down with some scouring pads, I couldn't. I mean, we're getting a mirror action there. I couldn't really get through it. So not on the recommended list. The hunt continues for a replacement for Tamiya PS58, which is hyper matte and comes in a can this big. The can from Joanne Crafts costs less than a can of PS58, and it's like an 11-ounce can. So you could do 8 bodies with it. And if you're okay with this sort of level of gloss, they're very satin on the sides. The product works. I like it better than the Traxxas matte, but I want matte. And it's not there. So that servo was too quick, and the 1200 was originally intended for something else, and I just moved it over. So we, of course, do what we always did, which is just replace all of the electronics. So this is a Rhino V40, our first test of the Rhino V40. This is the yellow jacket 1500 kV designed to run on 4S, and as it was designed to run on 4S, I was like, well, we'll just pull a servo that's designed to run on 4S. So we've got an NSDRC RS500B up front. This was formerly in the GFO, who is running a Fusion Pro. Fusion Pro's 3S Max, so it was getting wasted. I have said about the NSDRC servos, they work on 3S, but they come to life on 4S. So this guy was built to set up on 4S, and inexplicably, he has had minimal drive testing. I tested to make sure everything worked, that when I hardwired the motor to the speed control, and of course, the tape that they use, it fell off immediately. So I have to tape the little VE40 guy back on. It fell off immediately. So as I was putting it together and hardwiring it, I had to make sure that I had soldered the polarity correct so that it actually rolled forward. And inexplicably, most inexplicably of all, the weakest speed control that we have applied with this motor, it has been run on, we tested it on a couple Castle options, and we tested it on Rhino V80. The drag brake is not great. It never has been. The drag brake is really good on this. I have like a filing cabinet over here, and I just kind of drive up the front of the filing cabinet and see how much rollback we get. I don't know if it's the configuration of the LCXU. I don't know what it is, but the drag brake feels really good. The low-speed control feels properly good, like it's really smooth. And we are, he has become the test bed for the DS Power half-height. This is the $20 half-height servo for one singular reason. I would plug the 4409 in here. Apparently the JX4409 and the 40 amp Rhino, they just don't like each other, because it would fall into the dee-dee-doot, 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 and it would kind of rock back and forth, and the servo would go like this. I don't know what was happening. I would unplug the servo and it would stop. Plug it back in, like you'd start having seizures. Swap this servo in. It's quicker. It's supposed to be stronger. It can run on 8.4 volts. It works fantastic. I've tried the dig actuation. It works fantastically. So hopefully this will be his permanent electronics package. I haven't gone ahead and weighed him because we're still rocking the 1300 4S's. I hope that that's not, I mean, if you look at it, there's too much weight on that side. I think optimally the electronics would be over there and the battery would be over here to try to even it out. But we'll get him on the scales for his next episode, where we'll break this down a little more and we'll get some drive time on it, and we'll see how that does. He has basically no drive time since his body was painted. But that did free up the 1200. We needed to free up the 1200 because I did spend about a full afternoon working on the good old Rattle Cat, which is still, it is the Rattle Cat. You'd have to foam it up pretty good, because I just went with the I have 4 set screws coming through, which is not efficient, because if you fall forward, and this guy tends to fall forward quite a bit, this will pop off the front pretty easily, and you just eject the body. I have test run it a little bit, and I have ejected the body a number of times, but I am too lazy and too stubborn to put screws on the back. So there you go. What did I do? I don't know. Maybe ruined it. I don't know. I went with ideas for what I know. I wanted to get the links as close to level as possible, because this thing sat perilously high. And thanks to that pinned comment that is on the Red Cat part 2 of the Red Cat Quick View, this is, I guess, officially, unofficially part 3 of that, because we're going to do the thing. We're going to do the thing today. I wanted to get these level. I wanted to bring it down. And the only way I could think to do that... Oh, yeah. The comment. Get it as far as you can without changing the DNA. And I think I've done that. I have had to add a couple pieces. I'm going to bar up here. Shock keys in the front, because I think it's pretty visible what I did. We're no longer using the top of the axle, because now I can access the shocks. It is one screw. I remove one screw and I can change my springs if I need to change my springs. And that's the way I wanted it. So the shocks are rebuilt. Oh, yeah. The one part that had to be added, TRA 2362, which is the rebuild kit for big bores, to take out the Red Cat bladders and put in flat bladders. The shocks feel infinitely smoother than they did before. So I drilled 2 holes. You can see I flipped the tower around and then I drilled a new hole for the back mount. So this is an existing hole, this hole is a new drilled hole. And then mounted the shocks down to the suspension links. Like, you know how every other rock crawler mounts their suspension. Installed the Fusion, put in a 9-tooth, because I was like, we need to slow this thing down. I will readily admit that the 9-tooth is a little slow. I would go with an 11 with the 1200, but this is a Red Cat Ascent, and I really don't want to spend 10 minutes getting all that out to change the pinion and get the mesh set, because getting the mesh set on that was not particularly fun. Also, if you do attempt, if you're using something higher than a 1200 kV and you're putting a 9-tooth pinion in there, this will support it. You can indeed get the motor far enough over, but the stock drive shaft was just rubbing against the side of the motor. It was making a shiny spot on the drive shaft from where it was rubbing on the can. So this is just an Amazon $10 drive shaft, which happened to be very close to the length. I had to grind about 5 millimeters off of it. And because it has 5 millimeters ground off of it, I can indeed disconnect it and remove it without removing the rest of the vehicle, which you could do with the plastic one, but because this is 2 halves and the plastic one uses a center slider, it will probably fall apart on you. So a drive shaft that I would recommend replacing if you're deep into this would be that. We've gone to the 650 kV 3S. I'm running them in the front, which I've set up sort of a hopeful fence that I hope the wires can't get into the spur gear, because, you know, I'm a big fan of spur gear wide out in the open. And I'm not being facetious about that. Like, I don't like gear covers, but in this situation, yeah, I could just run this over here and save a lot of problems. But I am following the genuinely needed advice of that comment, which is do what you can with what you have. So shock keys added to the front, did not move the towers at all. Don't have an opportunity to move the towers because the FMM penetrates through the towers, and I would have had to cut these up. So the one part that was fabricated is I wanted to run the shocks upside down. So in order to facilitate running them upside down, I manufactured a new panhard mount, because the existing panhard mount sticks way far back and obscures the lower shock mounting point. And I wanted it out of the way. I also, somehow, when I made this, I had initially intended to mount the panhard to the front of this impromptu panhard mount, and it put it at an angle, and I was going to have to change the length, and I was like, you're getting into that thing again where you're starting to customize things too far. So by moving the panhard is actually moved forward about 3-4 millimeters, but the length is kept the same. It actually straightened the axle up, so the axle is a little more in the middle, and it did not eliminate it, but it took about 80% of the bump steer out. So this panhard mount, which is literally just a flat aluminum tab with 3 holes drilled in it, it moves the hole for the panhard, the axle end, up 5.5 millimeters. And it corrected a lot of the front end geometry in concert with, I mounted the, I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to figure out how to show it. There it is. I mounted the front upper link outside to try to get it more in line with the chassis rail. And that also helped. If you watch the angle of the shock, it doesn't change the angle of the shock body nearly as much as it does in stock configuration. And that has nothing to do with the shock mounting positions and everything to do with trying to straighten that link out. I didn't want to change this ball end to move it over closer, because that would indeed change the length. And also, added bonus, when you swing it out this way, you effectively make it behave longer, because it's actually removing the what I would call anti-triangulation, which puts the pinion at a better angle. So that's free. You need a spacer or something to go in between 7.5 millimeter spacer and a longer screw, and it will space that over. So it has been tested on the floor with these tires, mixed racing Fusks, the fake Tusks. These are fitted with dual stage 3D printed inserts, the softest things I could find. I've also changed all the shock springs, element greens in the front, element whites in the back, which are the softest rate and the second softest rate, because this thing just needs, and I still feel like at this angle, the rear might be a little oversprung, but because of the C-hub issue in the front and no C-hubs in the back, the rig sits at a really steep rake, so I was trying to remove as much of that rake as I could. And I wanted to do this little impromptu duel today. So in order to do that, yesterday, Baseline got a well-deserved and long overdue spa day because I needed to pull him all the way down to find out what was making those terrible noises during the terrain tire review. I wasn't even willing to go on A-Main until I found out we had to isolate what was wrong with him. And I guess what was wrong with him was that C-hub just kept overclocking and causing things to bind up. All the teeth look fine. He got the full teardown. And I don't just mean the full teardown. I mean the proper canyon spa treatment, which consists of 4 items. Everyone should have 4 items on hand. I've honestly forgotten if I've mentioned this in the past or talked about it, but I should have. You need 4 items to clean a rock crawler. You need a can of Pledge. I prefer orange. Lemon is fine. You need microfibers. This is the microfiber that I use on him. And you need a brush. It doesn't have to be a brush like this. It just needs to be a plastic bristled brush with as stiff of bristles as you can get. You can get ones like this. They come in little 3-packs at any home improvement store. This one is not quite as stiff as this. I think this is a gun cleaning brush. Otis. Very stiff. And then you need air. You need compressed air. Compressed air is kind of an important component of this. So if you don't have compressed air, how do you live? I often ask myself, how do people live without compressors? Like, how do you live without a compressor? Pledge, brush. You take your part, you spray Pledge on it, agitate it with the brush, blast it with air, wipe it down with this. Y'all might remember what Baseline looks like on the inside typically because he's a man who works for a living, and this is what Baseline looks like now. So that's factory fresh, and nothing was used on him other than Pledge, a brush, a microfiber, and air. He's been re-greased. Everything about him on the inside looks great. You can tell how much work he does from the bottom. The D-shaped links, these are worn nearly flat on the bottom. Perfect shape, not perfect shape. But he's a goer. He has had no changes to him. As y'all know, he is effectively like no geometry changes, none of that. He's a stock Enduro SE who has had his links changed to stretch his wheelbase to fit his body. Because I have complained about it in the past, and I will continue to complain about it in the future. Element saw in their divine wisdom to ship us a 12.3 vehicle with a 12.8 body on it. So when you bought one of these, the wheels were pushed forward. Doesn't make any sense, but a lot of things in life don't make any sense. So I've got all the radios piled up. I also have a set of Durtrex Deepwoods with squid inserts in them that are Deepwoods specific. So if the mix racing look like they're faltering, we've already got our trusty blue bag with the tires and the driver in there. And seeing as we've got to fill the whole cart, we're gonna take this guy out with us as well. I mean, if just for the thumbnail. And what have I done to him? Did he get any mini spa? He got the tiniest of mini spa, in which I put the lanyards on his rear clips, so his rear clips are now attached to the frame. So when you pull the clip out, it's physically retained, so you don't have to worry about losing your clips. I do that to every Phoenix here, and he got his very own steel pin because I don't like the plastic pins. Other than that, man, he is good to go. Zubazu will not be coming with us. It will be the trio. It will be the Fordyce, it will be the Rattlecat, and it will be Baseline. I've got to get the cart ready. I've got to get the stuff on it. We're going to go out there. We're just going to set it down, buck it up. We're going to run a line. We're going to move to another one. We'll do a couple lines, and we just want to see. And for all of those who claim that the Red Cat doesn't perform because I don't want it to perform, let me say this. I don't want anything to fail. It's just, I made the mistake. I made a grand mistake. Last night, I sat down and I watched probably about 45 minutes of Red Cat Ascent content on the YouTube platform. And honest to God, people, this is nothing personal against any of the other, and God, I loathe the word creators, but the other creators out there. At no point did I see anyone in any video challenge that vehicle at all. Nothing. Driving up a 16-inch high wood ramp, I could do that with a laser nut or a Traxxas Slash. Show me something. Also, if you want a fun drinking game, it's been pointed out by the Red Cat Army. Hashtag Red Cat Army. I'm repetitive. Apparently I'm repetitive. I say the same things over and over again. That's fine. If you want repetitive, get yourself your beverage of choice. It can be orange juice. Whatever you'd like. Get yourself a vessel to fill with that beverage to drink. And every time someone in a Red Cat review hits reverse, take a drink. And I don't know. If it's alcohol, you'll probably die. If it's orange juice, you'll probably give you some sort of acid poisoning. I can't recall any reviews. And I call them sizzle reels, where sometimes we get voiceover, sometimes not. We just get chopped up running footage. Man, Red Cat Ascent reviews are the home of chop it up, chop it up, chop it up, chop it. I'm talking over the video, and what you see is what is happening. I'm not influencing in any way because I'm sitting in a bucket chair and I'm lazy and I don't want to get up. So when a vehicle doesn't want to self-right itself, it makes me irrationally angry. So I'm going to make every effort not to get irrationally angry today, because we're taking 3 vehicles out onto the course with us, and I know that 2 of them will not make me irrationally angry. So hopefully we will achieve balance. Come with me, if you will. We had some seasonal winds the past couple days, which indeed does hamper filming. So I apologize for the leafy mess. We've got quite the leafy mess. I hit it with the blower. I keep forgetting it's on. I've got a program card. I could take that thing off of 100% reverse, but it is just pleasant, you know. I only have a couple Fusion Pros. I'm more of an SE man. You know, it's a numbers thing. We got a lot of quantity to deal with, but yeah, the Fusion Pro, after you've gone a while and you haven't used one, you are reminded of just how controllable the drag brake is. Full-fledged electronic anchor, and then and then it's a Fusion Pro, you know. So it's a step above brisk at 2300. In many cases, 2300. That's not very posed. 2300 is the spiciest thing that we're running around here. So I'm gonna get him. There we go, a little dangler. I'm not even looking. Who am I picking up? There we go. So, first time ascent to a rock. Yeah, buddy. What'd we do? A thing. Looks like we've done a thing. Let's track her. Ooh, a little push. Come back this way. We'll come back around. Oh, okay. All right. It's nice. All right, I want to go straight to the... Yeah. Hey, oh, man, you know what? I think the... I don't think the deep woods will be necessary today. I think this is doing fine. Oh, it was close. I wanted to see if we could get inside the truck. Let me look at the other pull-up here. It has a fairly typical turning circle. I've just been a little poisoned. I'm used to much sharper turning circles like what Baseline can do. That is almost, that's almost there. See how much shuttle. Little drop back. Stay. Oh, yeah, buddy. I mean, that comment, I've made this analogy before. I'm sure of it. I am 100% sure I've made this analogy before. But it bears repeating. not too long ago, we got new countertops in our kitchen. The wife requested them, and so it was. And then she said, she watches too many home improvement shows like Good Bones, and she said, I want one of them backsplashes that goes all the way to the ceiling. And I was like, okay. And then we went to the Lowe's and we picked it out. And she picked out a glass mosaic tile backsplash. And if you've never worked with glass mosaic tile, I would categorize it as an unyielding nightmare. Because I have like $100 wet saw, like a Cobalt wet saw. And that tile, when you cut it with a diamond blade, will shoot tiny little flecks of glass everywhere. Everywhere. You will be bleeding. It is the one instance where it was PPE 100%. Like I had gloves, face protection, you name it, because microscopic shards of glass were everywhere. You couldn't wipe anything off with your hand because there would be little invisible slivers of glass that would cut you to ribbons. And no matter how sharp the blade was, or no matter what methodology I tried, how I was feeding it into the blade, trying to keep the blade cool, etc., etc. What? Oh, it's the body. Is that click just the body? Because we didn't, like, it's still there. I completely disassembled this vehicle. There it is. It has to be a universal. Or it's the body. I'm not noticing any loss of power. There it is. What is that noise? Oh, he drives great. Man, he really drives so good. So there's little shards of glass everywhere. And as I'm putting it up on the wall, I can't get the spacing to line up perfectly. I can't get anything to go the way I want it to go. And at some point during the process, I had what I is a life breakthrough, like a sea change. Everything changed for me in that moment. And it was a very zen occurrence of, and I don't mean this in any trite way. I mean this exactly as I stated. Perfection is unattainable. And at some point, I was just saying to myself, get the tiles on the wall. I got the tiles on the wall. I started to grout it. I only cut myself a couple more times. And everything I've done in my life since putting up that glass tile has been changed. Because, not to go too zen, perfection is unattainable. Just get the tiles on the wall. So now, when I'm attacking a problem or a project, it's never about good, better, best, never let it rest, till good is better and better is best. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes that's not possible. You have to work with what you have. And I was neglecting. I was doing perhaps a disservice on some level to the Ascent in that my expectations, it wasn't that my expectations were too low. It's that my expectations were too high. I expected it to behave as other vehicles behave. And it's not going to. It's not going to sing the same song. So after I read that comment, and that comment was very much in line of perfection is unattainable, tangentially perhaps. I sat down and I looked at the Ascent. I looked at Rattlecat differently from that, which was, yeah, changing a bunch of stuff is kind of what we do around here, but I don't think it's in the spirit of that project. So it is returned to, like I've changed a couple screws here and there. We changed the motor, but we're trying to retain it as what it is. The 1200 makes a nearly immeasurable difference. Like it is, I don't know if it's possible to quantify how much different that Fusion SE makes that rig. And before I go on any further with that ramble, I need to mention, I think I figured out what the problem was with him. I mean, he deserved the spa day, but I think I figured out what the issue was with him the whole time. He just had too much steering throw. There it is a little bit. I just did limit his steering throw, but I didn't limit it when he got switched to the brass C-hubs because he was getting the flex in the hubs. I didn't put any limitation in, and I think that the passenger side universal has seen some damage now, as it was throwing so far. It looked like a drift car on the front end. And baseline do, you just get in the line, he goes. We'll go right about here, right top of the frame. Just hang it up there. So here's what I need to say about this guy right here. I have complained in the past about what I call the false economy of Red Cat, where the vehicle is $299.99 and everybody says, "Oh, look how good of a deal." Now, it's not a deal, because at the absolute the barest of minimums, you have to put a Fusion SE in it for about $80. So now we're at $379.99, and that's in the deep waters. There's a lot of RTRs in that price range, and it's not competitive out of the package at that price point. It's just not. Other vehicles are going to do more. And when you get to $379, you have to realize that now you're the cost of rims and tires away from a Fordyce. So this hobby is not about scrimping and saving every penny. Not to me. Show me. Come on. Use those tires. Come on. I've given you every advantage. I'll take a shuttle. If you want to shuttle, pop it back. There it is. Is he better? Absolutely. Unquestionably. I mounted the shocks where the shocks are supposed to be mounted. I resprung them. And that is where the problem is. Anyone out there arguing the $299.99, that's not real. Even what sits before you right now is not $299.99. It's well beyond that. Getting a crawler to a competent RTR level is about $500. And that's where the Red Cat Ascent really trips and falls. Because I have assembled an Amazon list called the Non-Ascent. I will have some still images up. That first still image includes what you need to get to a slider. And that will cost you about $220 to get to that slider, give or take. You can economize here and there, but I think that's about the bare minimum of parts. What it is missing is shocks. Because I built the entire list on Amazon, and Amazon is not going to sell you a good shock. There are a ton of 90mm shocks out there that perform very well and are inexpensive. GTS shocks from Jenny's. A set of big bores will set you back about $50. The GTS will be about $40, $45. Set of Desert Lizards will set you back about $50. There's any number of shock options. If you already own a rock crawler, you probably have a set of 90mm shocks laying around. Use that set of 90mm shocks. So you're at about $220 right now for an all-metal dig transmission, carbon fiber chassis, high clearance links, portal axles with quality parts that take regular AR-44 parts in terms of the inner gears, and take axial Vanquish portal gears in the portals, and are inexpensive, $80 for the set of axles. So you're at about $225 for the slider plus the shocks. So let's pump it up and call it $275. We're $25 away from the Red Cat. But then if you add a creep body, it's now close enough as to practically be a slider equivalent cost of the Red Cat, which means you still need wheels and tires and a motor and a servo for the dig and a radio, which is pretty much what you need for the Red Cat. So if you assemble all of those parts and you put them all together, you will have something which is done improperly. Buying something RTR is supposed to save you money, because the sum of buying parts individually a la carte is always more expensive, always. But the Red Cat basically charges you a la carte prices to just put the thing together. Like, you're not saving. If that thing was $199, I would recommend that people go out and buy one. Do the amount of work required to make it operate properly, and just ignore the fact that there are uncorrectable problems to the geometry, like that the front upper link is on the wrong side of the vehicle. There are problems that can be corrected. This thing is significantly better than it was out of the box, and that makes me... What is the state of being bittersweet? That's what I am right now, because I am happy that I made educated guesses, semi-educated guesses about what changes would prompt performance increases in the platform. But at the same time, let's be simple and plain about it. I should not have to make those changes. What geometry changes have been made to the Vanquish? None. It is running stock everything except wheels, tires, motor, and servo. What changes have been made to baseline in terms of geometry? None. It's the stock shocks. It's all of the stock mounting positions. The two that are parked next to each other right now have about the same amount of stuff done to them to get them to where they are. I haven't changed anything fundamentally on the Red Cat, but I've turned it into what they should have given us in the beginning, because I didn't look at the axles as repurposed Gen 8 axles. I looked at them through a lens, a lens modification brought to me by the commenters of the Canyon, which is, look at it for what it is and work from there. Don't pre-draw the box and then make the vehicle try to fit in the box. That's on me. That's my bad. But the problems that remain, I can't do anything about without changing the DNA of the vehicle. As I think the Ascent, beyond the geometry problems, which could be corrected by changing the things to which that geometry is attached, which is the rails and the towers. You change the rails and the towers, and I could argue that it's something else now. Beyond that, then the weak points, the cascade, we cascade down. If we've changed the rails, now what is the weakness? It's that FMM, because I don't really think, it certainly doesn't lower the CG to a degree that something like a VFD does. The motor in that Vanquish is significantly lower than the other two. And the motor in the Ascent is lower than the motor that's in Baseline. But Baseline makes it work, because everything else he has is very low. And his servo's on his axle. That doesn't hurt. So, say we go to a 3-gear, which will give us a proper amount of gear reduction. And then we could put a Fusion Pro in there, no problem. A Fusion Pro would be perfect in there if we just go to a 3-gear. And it would move the motor lower than the motor is. It will kill a little bit of the front weight. Our weight will be a little more centralized, which means we'll probably have to throw a little bit of brass at it to even that out. I'm going to stay in. We're going to stay in. I want to see if he can put his wheel down. It's loading. He's a little high on entry here. That's really wide. I think a 3-gear would clear up a lot of the Ascent's problems. But at the same time, I would argue now it's something else. And then once the 3-gear is in, now the weakness moves again. And it moves to the axles, because the axles are repurposed. I would have loved more than anything to see Red Cat put a different axle on there. It should, do we all agree it should be straight axle? I think it should probably be straight axle, but with those pumpkins, you can't get away with it. So they would have to completely redesign the axles. So I know what I would like to see, and I understand why I'm not seeing it. So if we've changed the gearbox and we're now addressing the axles, it is definitely something else. It's something else entirely. Don't get hung. Don't get hung up. There you go. There you go, bud. Baseline has a grotesquely unfair advantage here, which he has crossed the side hill a jillion times. How many tire tests? Who knows? Baseline has probably made 1,000 passes across that side hill, so that's just, I wouldn't even say that it's that I know what line to hit with him. I would say that it's that he knows what line to hit. And again, I have no intention to point a finger. But in a video that I watched recently, someone remarked that the steering angle on the Red Cat was impressive. And I just stared at the screen and I went, what? It certainly has the least steer angle of the three vehicles that are here, by a fair margin. And its quietness is brought about, I do appreciate the quietness, I love a quiet rig, but that quietness is brought about by the fact that most of the gears in the rig are plastic. Baseline has 2 plastic gears in him total, the output gears in his Stealth XF, and the Fordyce, I think, has 1. The spur gear is plastic. The Ascent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plastic gears. Look at this. Oh! That comes around perfectly and in a perfect time, because that right there, I can't correct that. That's front upper link pin hard collaboration right there, just throwing that tire into the air. Now, we can throw brass at it in an attempt to keep that down. I think I'm most impressed here with how well the mixed racing are doing. Okay, stay in it. Oh, real good. Yeah. Again, whatever the physical sensation of being bittersweet is, we're there. We're there together. He is right there. It's not awesome framing, but you know what? It's my day. We'll allow it. Woo, yeah, buddy. The Fordyce is a zinger. And I think it's so we've got a 1200 and a 1200 out there, and then a 2300. So some of the missteps occurred with me piloting the Fordyce is because I set one controller down, I pick up the next, and the trigger feel is radically different between the three. Yeah, see, he just needed a little higher entry, I think. It's a little over squat there. Oh. Nope. I would say that the Ascent is now, good old Rattlecat is now closer to baseline than the VRD is. The Fordyce. The Fordyce has to be driven a little different. So I guess the question is, do I continue to maintain that the Red Cat is as bad as I made it out to be in the first 2 parts of its quick view? Yeah. The praise singing of it in stock configuration is mind-boggling. But what the I'm just going to keep calling this thing the VRD. Because I don't like saying the F word. What this gentleman can do right here, bad entry. We get here, we hook that over, we go like this. The Ascent had no chance on this green orb of successfully doing that in stock configuration. None. And I no longer consider this even in the consideration of a hard line here. If you know where to hit, you can hit it. For whatever reason, what I was calling the soft side of this line, which is right here, that line has proven to be more difficult for some vehicles as of recent. I don't know why it is. Something about the way weight transfers. But in stock, in out-of-the-box condition, this thing had no chance. It couldn't even get a wheel up there. I think he's got it handled now. Yeah. Not a problem. Let's try soft side. Oop. Little redirect there. Ooh, real high there. Okay, let's give you a fresh hit. Keep that wheel speed down. I need that end to settle. Nope. Not going to settle. And I think not a lot of it, but a little brass. Potentially even just brass rings in the front wheels. Do we like rotating mass? No. Is rotating mass the end of the universe? Is it the heat death of the universe? No. You know what else also is? It's dirt cheap. The knuckle weight is most likely the best place to put weight. A knuckle weight for an F10 Portal is $100 a pair. I can outfit brass rings to 2 vehicles for $30. So it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice for economy. Get there? There it is. He gets there. I realize we need to this guy didn't do soft side. Yeah, you set down a 9-tooth on a 1200 and you pick up a Vanquish on a 2300. Ka-chow! Retune the finger. There we go. Okay. It's subtle, but I would hope that we can detect the difference here. Baseline and the F word, they just do. They just do it. I have to be a lot more. It's that analogy that even I'm tired of making, and I made it up myself. It's the imaginary balance beam. What is the size of the balance beam? Are we on a plank? Are we on a 4-inch literal, not metaphorical balance beam? Are we walking on a tightrope? The availability, the total available grip, and the traction profile of a vehicle brought about by its geometry and the tires that are fitted under it. The width of that, it just gets wider and wider. The F word here, because he has, even all other things taken into consideration, most likely the lowest CG of the 3. I have never scaled them together. His beam that he walks on is pretty wide. Baseline's beam is honestly right there. I can guarantee you, though, that Baseline's sprung to unsprung is a little better than the F word, because Baseline has got a fairly heavy set. Every once in a while, you get strangely lucky on Amazon, because you will go on Amazon to order a set of wheels, perhaps a set of wheels that you've ordered before, and you take them out of the little Amazon padded mailer. If you're lucky enough to even get a padded mailer, and you go, wow, these wheels are oddly heavy. And you find that no quality control has taken place, and that either the actual dish part of the wheel, like the front half of the beadlock, is just like a solid billet hunk of aluminum. And for whatever reason, that set of wheels is like 100 grams heavier than the other set of wheels. Or in 2 instances, I have gotten wheel sets in that, $30 to $35 range that most Amazon wheels are at. Oh man, that's so much better. And they just come with brass rings, powder-coated brass rings, with no mention of them including brass rings, because An alloy ring is usually about 25, 26, 27 grams, and you'll pull a ring out and it'll be low 70s, high 60s, and you go, oh, okay, free brass. It's the issues with the geometry that, and I will, he descends better too, which I will 100% look into, because perhaps try a link riser in the back. I can fab up a link riser. Is there a link riser for Gen 8 out there? I don't know. We're going to take a look at what we can do, because the box. Don't pre-paint the box. Let that thing paint its own box. We'll work to that. It's wildly better than when it started. But no one. That pumpkin is very round, but I managed to get it stuck very, very good. The turning circle issue here. I mean, those Gen 8 axles are not close. But, you know, even I would agree that comparing the axles on old Rattler over there on the old Rattlecat, comparing those axles to the axles on the F Word are not, that's not fair. Yeah, I have done something. We got a wheel just spinning. What did I do? What did I do to that universal? It's not missing a pin. Did a pin fall? Did I break a wheel pin? Okay, so something, despite a full teardown, something is still wrong in Baseline's front end. You saw that whole front end. It can't be the slipper, because it's just the front end slipping. Can we all agree that he's doing surprisingly well for a vehicle that can, on its own accord, shift between two-wheel drive, three-wheel drive, and four-wheel drive? Like, he's very clean, but he is still not healthy. Now I'm trying to get a little bind on the front to see what we're looking at. I cannot determine where that click is coming from. I double-checked ring and pinion. They are fine. So if the ring and pinion are fine, I want to get that bumper hit in again. Nope. Why is it that when you're trying to get a vehicle stuck, you can't do it? Get out the way. Get out the way. There's got to be a place I can stick this guy. We must recreate the problem. But now he's like, nah, I'm going. There it is. I have no genuine idea what that is. Well, you know what? Before this goes into tomorrow. Oh, look at that. I'm not calling myself an artist, but look at the the composition. It's kind of wonderful. So we will hit you with one final setup, and as much as I like the VT1 and still contend that it's probably the best RTR radio out there, it still makes me irrationally angry. Look how small the bottom is. This radio has fallen over like 5 times today. It's all dusty. It just falls over. Like, I appreciate, like, in hand, it feels good. It's got good trigger feel. It's got good wheel feel, etc. But you have to set it down on its side because it will just fall over. So we're not. Okay, I'm now going to try something ill-advised. There we go. I thought it would look good coming into frame, but I can't see what I'm doing. Come on. I can't see what I'm doing. There. Come on, buddy. There's our boy. All right. Yep. There you go. You wait right there. Wait right there. He's gonna wait right there. And now we're gonna see. Can we do it twice? Come on, what are you stuck on? I can't see. All right, just, nope. What are you stuck on? Okay, go the easy way. There we go. Just come down through here. We'll grab some spider webs on the way. I think we've moved into a different phase of the relationship, me and the rattle cat. It's not. All right. You're gonna have to follow me. You're gonna have to follow me on this one. The Red Cat Ascent is better and worse. Not than it needs to be. It is just simultaneously better and worse. I have made it better, but there's a thing that I call the cascade of failures. And the cascade of failures comes from the Go Fast world. Most notably and particularly related to vehicles like the two-wheel drive Slash. The two-wheel drive Slash is a perfect example of cascading failure, which is you drive your two-wheel drive Slash, you hook a front wheel on something, and it just rips the hinge pin out of the bulkhead. So you go, okay, I'll put an aluminum bulkhead in there, and it will stop that pin from ripping out. And the universe goes, thank you. And you catch the front wheel on something, and now you can't break the front bulkhead because it's aluminum. So it rips the pin out of the A-arm. So you replace the A-arms with RPM A-arms, and now the pin can't get ripped out. So now you're driving and you hook the front wheel on something, and it turns the C-hub into spaghetti, to the point where sometimes the whole steering knuckle pops out of the C-hub, and the wheel and tire are basically disconnected from the vehicle. So you go, okay, aluminum C-hub. Put aluminum C-hub on. And then you break the steering knuckle, and you put an RPM steering knuckle on. And the failures continue to cascade because every time you move a strong point, every time you introduce a strong point, you move a weak point. And in crawlers, we're not generally hooking a corner on something and ripping the front end apart. But what we're doing is we're trying to fix that which has wronged us. The shock geometry on Rattlecat was just wrong, objectively wrong, but correctable. I drilled 2 holes in the frame, and I believe it is pretty well sorted. But it came with the wrong springs. It came with the wrong shock geometry. The link geometry is not something that I can easily change. I'm going to give it a shot. It could use high clearance links in the rear, I do believe. The front motor mount is questionable in its efficacy. I don't really see any advantages from it that couldn't be brought about by a standard 3-gear. So what I've done is corrected many of the problems and issues that I saw with the Ascent, to the extent of not changing the DNA of the vehicle. Because I don't want to. I want it to stay what it is. I was ready. I looked over and said, how many pre-cut aluminum blanks have we got for me to cut some rails out? And thank God for that comment. Because I shouldn't. Not only shouldn't I do it, I shouldn't have to do it. So I would like Rattlecat to stay as much Rattlecat as possible. I don't want to change the axles. I don't want to change the FMM. I want it to be what it is. I also don't want to throw a ton of money at it, because if you throw a ton of money at it, you're very quickly into the realm of, well, we could have just started with something else. And I will contend forever If Rattlecat stays here forever, I'm 100% fine with that. If he moves on, whatever may be, I will never stop stating that it is still a false economy. You save no money buying that red cat because it is not engineered to the point where they should be allowed to charge $299.99 for it. Can you make it work? I think that I did. It's certainly better, but the cost of it is easily comparable to what's in Baseline. And Baseline can do everything that the Red Cat can do, and he can self-right himself. And those are RTR canyon trails, not S1s, just RTRs on $35 wheels with hair buns in them. So that's tough competition. And to me, I don't see the point of the Ascent because it doesn't innovate where it needs to innovate. It could have been better, but I think that I've zenned it. I've come to accept it is what it is. And I need to compare it only to itself, I guess. As long as we're seeing forward progression, as long as whatever mods and tweaks and fiddles we do to the Ascent make it better, I consider that a success. Boy, I would like more. I would like more steering angle, though. Not a lot I can do about that. So, I wrenched on Baseline. This is the Midwest Goodbye. We're in it. If you didn't know, you're midway through it. I wrenched on Baseline yesterday for about 90 minutes, and apparently didn't find what was actually wrong with him. So we get to go back and do that again. But working on that element platform is genuinely pleasurable. It took 15 minutes to completely tear him down. Maybe, if that. 4 bolts to take the motor out. 5 bolts to take the whole top of the gearbox off. Clean it, re-grease it, check all the gears, replace this, what we needed, clean this, refill the shocks with proper bleeder cap shocks. Put him back, clean him up, put him back together. It was nice. It was, dare I say, therapeutic. The afternoon I spent working on the Red Cat Ascent made me physically tired because you've got to unbolt this and you've got to unbolt that and you've got to get to this and you've got to get to that. And it's just, toy cars are supposed to be fun. And there's a lot of other ways to build fun. 2 of them are sitting up there on the rock. Working on a Vanquish isn't the easiest thing in the world, but it's still 5 bolts to take the gearbox out. I don't know. I feel like the relationship between Rattlecat is evolving, and I think that's fine. And I hope you all have enjoyed the journey along. What a wonderful day. I have no idea what my family has in store for me. We'll find out. Luckily, they let me come out here and film, and they weren't aggressive about do this, do that. I hope to see you all again very soon. Hopefully in the next one. I don't know what order of things are coming up in the next week. I'm going to get started on that Bronco build soon, I promise. Next. It is the next installment. We've got some of Zobazu. We've got to get another part of Clank up. I still haven't painted him. So that will come up. Some changes have been made to Clank. You saw some changes made to Zobazu. We'll get into that. We'll get into those. I will continue to tinker with Rattlecat, and hopefully Rattlecat will get to a point where once Rattlecat is where I think he's good and where I think Baseline is full healthy, we can do a little, like we can do a proper. They can hit the 9. Hopefully I will have built the easier, what I'll call the orange course at Leviathan. We'll see how that works out. Anywho, thanks for dropping by the canyon, everybody. Check out the affiliate links, should you be so inclined, etc., etc. Get yourself a Canyon t-shirt. I make $2. We look forward to seeing you again. I hope that in between now and when we do see each other again, you do, one and all, your very best to have a good one, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Get out and crawl if you can. If you're in one of those places in the world where it's like 30 degrees already, I'm sorry. I don't apologize. I didn't place you there, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what's happening to you, because in the land without seasons, we somehow soldier on. I'll see you next time, everybody. No driving out of frame. I've got a bunch of stuff to clean up. I'm going to put these back in. We'll try to get another video in before my wife and kids come after me. I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.